It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, gonna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to another installment of the 2007 NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series season. As we take you to Nashville, it's race number 24 of 36, the MBNA All-American Heroes 400. Bit of semi-intermediate action on the flat concrete here in Music City as we get you set for the starting lineup in tonight's race, the finale of the middle third of this 2007 season. Scott Riggs, number 57 car, surprise pole winner here tonight. He starts in the first position with Greg Biffle in the 16, runner-up last week, starting in the second position. Elliott Sadler's number 83 will be starting in P3, with Kevin Harvick in the 20 in the fourth position. Tony Stewart, he'll be in fifth, and Marcos Ambrose is going to be in the sixth spot in the 13. Casey Kane, he'll be P7, with DJ Kennington in eighth. Brad Keselowski is going to be ninth, and Clint Boyer's number 4 rounds out the top 10. 11th, that'll be Kurt Busch. 12th is going to be Jeff Gordon. Juan Pablo Montoya, P13. 14th is going to be Carl Edwards. Robbie Gordon in the 15th position with Ryan Newman in 16th. Jeff Burton directly behind his teammate in 17th, with Matt Kenseth starting in the 18th position. Jeremy Mayfield, he'll be P19 with J.J. Yaley in 20th. 21st is going to be Todd Bodine, and Eric Norris in the 22nd position. Jimmy Johnson will be P23, Kyle Busch in the 24th spot. Ricky Hendrick P25, and Martin Truex Jr. in 26th. Scott Wimmer at P27, with John Andretti to his outside in 28th. 29th, that'll be Jamie McMurray, last week's winner, with Bobby East in the 60 to his outside in 30th. 31st, Bobby Labonte. Johnny Sauter will be in the 32nd spot. Dale Earnhardt Jr., P33. Justin Allgaier's number 02, he'll be 34th. Casey Mears, P35. And David Rudiman in the 06 this week, made a change over to No Fear Racing. He'll be P36. AJ Allmendinger in the 07 again. He's 37th place. Todd Cleaver making his Cup Series debut in the 98 machine. He'll be 38th. Casey Atwood starts 39th. And Jason Leffler in the 40th position. Rounding out the field in the back row, 41st. That'll be Brian Vickers' number 44. And TJ Bell in the 26th. Rounds out the field here tonight. 102 laps is your race length here from Nashville. As we take it to the racetrack for the most famous words in motorsports, it's the command here from Nashville Superspeedway.
Drivers, start your engines!
Field gets set to roll, 42 cars as always. Riggs and Biffle, couple of Fords on the front row, getting us rolled off as we get started. Bit of concrete action. One of the most fun racetracks on the calendar for the drivers themselves. They really love this place, the challenge of this racing surface, and the fact that it's not quite a mile and a half. It's kind of in between an intermediate and a short track, but people love to race this place. And we usually like to see these guys, they spread out quite a lot over the long runs. You're going to see a driver's track here tonight. It is a big blast to watch these guys wheel it around this facility.
Definitely so, and while it does get spread out, it's not impossible to pass once you get to another driver, so expect to see some raciness when you get up to another car. But one thing that I would like to mention with this racetrack is the access roads coming on and off pit roads. Sometimes you see some trouble, a little bit of contact coming on or off, so you'll have to keep your fenders clean getting on and off pit road to make sure you don't have to come back in and bleed all of that track position that you gained throughout the race.
Race number 24 of 36, 2/3 of the way through this 2007 season. Championship battle heating up. Battles for the wins getting more and more important. Pace car peels off on the left. 102 laps here tonight as Scott Riggs and Greg Biffle leads us in. And we are green here from Nashville. It's the MBNA All-American Heroes 400. Field up to speed and out of turn 4, and you see it there, the pole sitter Scott Riggs off to a nice start tonight. He's going to lead the opening lap from the pole position as Elliott Sadler's number 83 moves into second.
Yeah, and we've seen for Riggs, this is one of his best racetracks. I believe it was last season. He ran up in the top 5 pretty much all day, and today ends up putting that PPC car on the pole, and we'll have to see how this car runs throughout the long run or see if it was set up for Saturday. But nonetheless, a racetrack that Scott Riggs very, very much likes.
Absolutely, and a skilled driver, ex-Busch Series champion running up front here tonight. Familiar with this racetrack from the races ran in the Busch Series, and now out front once again. Elliott Sadler in the second position in 83. Greg Biffle, outside pole sitter, dropped to third. Fourth belongs to Kevin Harvick, and Marcos Ambrose, another impressive run in the 13. He sits in the 5th position.
And Ambrose, we've been talking about him more and more as the season progresses, as he gets comfortable with these cars. And I think a lot of the big help for him is that these cars are a little closer to what he was racing in Australia. They're a little heavier. They're not as aerodynamic, but having a little bit of experience in cars that many would say are the most comparable to a stock car anywhere that you can find internationally, I think that has helped Marcos. And as the season's gone on, as he's gotten a little bit more comfortable racing these guys fender to fender, we've seen him run more and more up front, and it's been very, very exciting to watch.
One of the most impressive drivers in the Cup Series in that 5th position right now. DJ Kennington and Tony Stewart. We keep talking about the two championship rivals. Just 50 points separate them entering tonight's race at Nashville as this championship fight continues to heat up. And once again, we find the 42 and the 81 bumper to bumper on this racetrack for P6 and P7 on this racing surface right now.
Yeah, and Bristol would have been a great chance for either of them to gain points on each other, but unfortunately for both, had a bad day. We saw Tony Stewart get knocked up onto his side. So, unfortunate for both of them to not be able to gain as many points as they would have liked in a position where they had either one of them had a very rare off day. But with how even those guys have been over the past quarter of a season or so, it really could come down to the last race.
It absolutely could, and we've seen how close they've been all season long and how on it they've been all season. It's over 300 points from DJ Kennington, the points leader, down to the third place car in the standings. So these two have really just kind of left the whole rest of the field in the dust in terms of the championship battle. There's still a full third of the season left for that to change course, but of course these two have been so consistent all year long up front every single week. It's any wonder that they have absolutely rocketed away from the rest of the field in terms of this championship fight.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that separates these guys from a lot of the other drivers in the field is that they really don't have a weakness in terms of track type. You can see DJ or Tony run up front pretty much anywhere. And we've seen it with Kennington, where maybe we had expected him in spurts to struggle at some types of racetracks. He's really just been able to bring the speed every single week. And it's something that we don't see, especially out of a rookie driver and a team that is still trying to find their bearings in the Cup Series. If you remember, that 81 team was kind of the, I wouldn't say throwaway car, but the more of the R&D team for Gibbs for a while. They put Kennington in the car, and the results started to show.
Absolutely. Kennington lost the spot to Tony Stewart, going around his outside there in 3 and 4. Seeing the top side work pretty well as a passing lane in this race so far. But right now, 10 laps into this thing, Scott Riggs, who had pulled quite a bit of a gap to Elliott Sadler, might be starting to lose that time just a little bit, but has led all 10 laps in a row now to start this night. Has a very strong car underneath him at the opening of this race.
Yeah, and definitely nice to see a bit of newer blood at the front of this field. Again, Riggs just absolutely loves this racetrack, says he loves the challenge of getting down into the corners. It's deceptively difficult, and with the concrete surface, it doesn't feel like anything else on the schedule. So drivers just tend to love how much of a unique stop here it is at Nashville, and it's any wonder by the overwhelmingly positive reviews from race drivers.
Still out in front of Elliott Sadler. It's Biffle in third, Harvick fourth, and Ambrose still holding on to the top 5. Field, that trademark Nashville spread, we're starting to see it take hold here. Jeff Gordon and Robbie Gordon in a battle for position back here. First group of cars side by side as Edwards slips back around, and once again seeing that top side really working for these guys as it usually does at this facility. We've seen a lot of it in the past, but especially seeming the case tonight. Right around the outside of Jeff Gordon, moves into the 15th position as this race continues to wind away, seeing Sadler start to slowly close up to the back bumper of that 57. Might have a shot to try and take away this race lead. Lap number 14 at the moment for our 2 race leaders, but Riggs trying to hold him off and had a great set of corners there.
Yeah, it almost looked like Sadler got into the wake of the 57, had to check up out of the gas a little bit. But these top 4 are still pretty much under a blanket. Any of these guys could end up taking this lead at some point in the race. But how about Marcus Ambrose, who is not completely out of this yet and can pull himself right up into the fray if any of these guys start battling?
Harvick trying to find a way around Biffle. This is for third. As he ducks his nose underneath of the 16, Biffle going to use that top side to his advantage. Again, seen a lot of that tonight. And once again, Greg Biffle stays in front of the 20. And not a typical sort of style of racing we usually see on this calendar, but seems like the top side definitely is the spot to be, especially side by side here tonight. Seeing these guys, at least on their own, really liking to run that bottom. Looking like that defense line. We've talked about it at this racetrack before, seeming like it's come in even stronger here tonight. Top 5 still spread out. No moves amidst this group yet completed for a position as Riggs still holding off Elliott Sadler's number 83. Hasn't been close enough to even show the nose for the lead just yet. But at the present moment, still putting the pressure on this DLP Ford up front right now. Got a pretty good run out of turn 4. Going to take a look on Riggs as they head towards turn 1. And here comes Elliott Sadler on the bottom. Question is if he's going to be able to make this move. Haven't seen it stick all night. Once again, Riggs around the outside is going to hold on to the lead. Greg Biffle in the 16 is going to fill the gap on the outside of Elliott Sadler into turn 3. And a bit of a run out of the corner off of turn 4, and Greg Biffle moves around the outside of Sadler for the runner-up spot. Harvick putting pressure on him to maybe take away that position. Not quite able to find that gap just yet.
Sadler tried to stick the nose back in for the second spot, had to get out of the gas. Biffle had started to come down the racetrack to cover him off. But that's going to present an opportunity here for Kevin Harvick. But Sadler really tried to fight back and almost contact there for those two.
See Tony Stewart and DJ Kennington, who are still bumper to bumper for position, also entering the fray. It's now 7 cars up in a line at the front of the field right now with Stewart and Kennington running down the top 5 to maybe make up some positions. Riggs still holding off now. Biffle in second place, couple of Fords, the top 2 starters of this race. Now back to first and second with 20 laps completed this time for Scott Riggs, who has led all of them.
And we're starting to see a bit of an accordion effect take place. After it gets spread out, everything has to compress eventually, and we start to see more and more cars enter the fray as they battle and hold each other up. So it'll be interesting to see as this run progresses if it will spread back out again or if we'll continue to see more cars put themselves into the fight.
Absolutely. Top 3 have broken away just a little bit. Harvick dropped off at the 83 as Sadler the last couple laps, opened the door for Ambrose to close up to the back bumper of the 20, but has not been able to make a move for that position just yet. Down the backstretch, it is still Sadler, Biffle, and Riggs who have been up front since the start of this thing. Again, we usually see this track position stagnation just a little bit at this track. It is usually beneficial to start up front. You don't see a lot of movement throughout the field unless you get a couple of cautions at this track. So we see these guys who have started up front stay up front, and of course, as mentioned, Riggs has still led every lap of this race so far, not without challenge. Biffle and Sadler have both been right behind him over the last handful of laps, but still nobody able to surmount that DLP Ford. And it is hard to imagine if it's either an inability to pass or if that 57 is just that strong. And either way, leading this many laps in a row is a good sign for the pace of your race car. And he once again pulls away from the second place car as Biffle drops behind him that the last lap and a half or so.
Yeah, and I think it's a good sign really for PPC as a whole, because they've seen Yaley run up front in some races this year as well in that 10 car. So I think it's certainly a good sign of things to come when both of your drivers are able to compete up front with the best of the best in the series. And we've seen it a little less from Riggs this season, but now leading this race, definitely the highlight of his year so far. And my goodness, what a story it would be if he could take PPC to victory lane in the Cup Series.
Sadler tried to make a move on Biffle for second, no go. Stewart tried to get underneath of Kennington for 6th, and that didn't happen. So now Kurt Busch following his teammate underneath the 12 of Kane here in 3 and 4, but that move also doesn't stick. As Keselowski in the 2 going to maybe think about going around the outside of Kurt Busch towards turn 1. And he is going to force that 0-1 down to the bottom lane. Question is if he can complete that pass. Answer is no. So as this race continues, Riggs still in the lead of this thing and starting to get close to the point where you got to think about that first pit stop. And with the stagnation we've seen at the front of the field, this could be a big opportunity to maybe make up some positions if you can get some clean air. Yeah, this is, with the race that we've seen so far, you do not want to be the one to mess up your pit stop. So it's good. I think the name of the game today might be getting in and out of pit road cleanly and efficiently, keeping your track position. Because if you can do that, we have not really seen much passing today. I don't think that it'll get very much better as the run goes on, because we're pretty deep into this run already. So I think if you can get in and out of pit road cleanly and well, you should be in good shape to potentially have a chance to win this race. And there it is, as Greg Biffle, second place car, is going to dive down pit road early. DJ Kennington's number 81 comes down as well. It's lap number 28 that Biffle will see pit road from the second spot. One other car is Montoya's 84. Just prior to 30 laps, we see our first takers. Going to see if Riggs responds here, if he wants to go long. And Riggs is going to come down pit road from the lead. Kevin Harvick in the 20 will stay out. Ryan Newman, the only other car in the top 10 to remain on the racetrack, so Harvick takes away the lead. Quick 4 tires and fuel here for Biffle. As Riggs, the race leader, comes down pit road with everybody else in tow.
Let's see how well that PPC 57 team is able to execute their pit stop. You're definitely going to want to keep him out front in this race. He's been able to pace the field, maybe not quite as fast as the two behind him. I mean, they were hounding him there for a while, but if he can get out front here and stay out front, it'd be mission accomplished for that 57 team.
4 tires and fuel on for Riggs, off the jack, and away he goes. So the race leader leaving the pit lane here. The question is where that 16 of Biffle is going to end up with the shortcut. We've seen quite a bit of tire wear in this race. And as he leaves turn 2 down the backstretch, Riggs on the bottom. Cold tires for him and Sadler leaving pit road at the same time. Biffle going to go around the outside of Sadler. Question is if he can get Riggs here.
He does not.
So Riggs holds on to what should be the net race lead. Kevin Harvick leaving pit road in the 20 car. They're not going to be anywhere near these race leaders, but Biffle unable to get past Riggs with the undercut, so the 57 holds the race lead, but he's got 3 cars in a line right behind him. Biffle, Sadler, and Kennington all hungry to maybe try and steal this race lead.
Yeah, and Biffle seems to be inching closer to that bumper as we hear some contact.
Ambrose, the 13.
Ambrose is around.
Caution is out for the first time here tonight as Ambrose goes for a spin. And looked like it involved the 20 of Harvick, who was just leaving pit road. Riggs has the lead at the yellow flag. Get a replay with the 13 around in turn 3. Probably involved this 20 leaving pit road. Get a look here. Yeah, it looks like Ambrose just misjudged it and drove right down into him, and a hard hit into the outside wall in turn 3. And Ambrose, who had a potential top 10, top 5 run and going, goes up in smoke there in turn 3.
It looked like, Harvick with those cold tires, pinned it on the bottom. There wasn't anywhere else he really could have gone. But Ambrose just kind of started to arc down to the bottom and didn't anticipate how slow the 20 would be going. A little bit of contact there and a hard impact into the wall.
Going to see fuel only stops here from the race leader. Riggs going to give up first here, and a handful of drivers stay out. The new race leader is going to be DJ Kennington's number 81. We'll take it to intermission here from Nashville as Kennington, now the race leader, will be right back. It's NASCAR on ESPN here from Nashville Superspeedway. Back from intermission here at Nashville as we get set to go green. DJ Kennington in the 81 has taken away the race lead after staying out under that last yellow flag. Casey Kane in the 12, he'll be in the second position. Tony Stewart restarts in third. Robbie Gordon will be fourth, and Brad Keselowski, fellow teammate to Kane, he'll be in the fifth spot. The lap number 36 here for DJ Kennington, the points leader, finds his way into the lead after about half the field came down pit road there. Incident involving Ambrose and Harvick brought out the first yellow of the race. Just about a third of the way into it, pace car is going to peel in on the left. Kennington and Kane, the top two, as we head into the restart box here. Waiting for the signal, and the green flag is out, and we are back underway. Great jump from the top two as we race towards turn number 1. Kane right away thinking about going to the bottom, trying to get Kennington for this lead, but we've seen that top be so strong here tonight, and once again, it's Kennington off of turn 2 on that top side, going to clear for the lead. Sue and Robbie Gordon were side by side for third there as well. No harm, no foul, as Keselowski is going to try to go around the outside of the 31 for the fourth spot.
It's been a bit of a struggle at times for a rookie Keselowski, but he has had flashes of brilliance so far this season. We saw it in the Busch Series, how strong this kid is, and that win at Richmond last season, albeit on some unfortunate circumstances. But to me, I have no doubt in this kid's ability. He's young, and he needs a little bit of time to get used to racing some of these guys and get used to some of these tracks, but certainly a bright future ahead for this kid in the 2 car.
Absolutely. Keselowski in the 5th position in the top 5 right now after the pit stops under the yellow flag gave him a higher running position, as well as our race leader Kennington, who really seems to have found some strength here and has absolutely rocketed since the start, or the restart I should say, and is about 5 to 10 car lengths now in front of Casey Kane, who runs in the 2nd position. And we've talked about it over the course of this season before. Casey Kane, his visits to victory lane this season have all come off of the heels of beating the 81 outright on the track. So Kane's kind of been the kryptonite of this 81 team over the course of the season, and once again finds himself fighting with Kennington up front. So the question now becomes if he can maybe do it again here tonight.
Yeah, we've seen multiple times throughout the season, Kane's strength has been the long runs. His cars usually get so good over the course of 30, 40 lap runs, and we start to see it as this goes on. The 12 is hounding the back of this 81. It's been very hard to pass today, but he's going to try to make that move down here on the bottom. Has to get out of the gas. There's certainly no shortage of speed in that Penske Pontiac.
Around the outside is going to be Tony Stewart here, capitalizing on the mistake. We've seen a lot of this tonight, with drivers really just capitalizing on issues by others. But Kane putting some fight in on the bottom, sticking with that 42. See if he can maybe get clear into turn 1 here. This is going to be the best shot he's going to have. As we head off into the corner here, got clear for a split second, but Stewart is going to rocket around his outside, and the 42 moves into the 2nd position.
And if there's one thing that we've learned throughout this race is you have to be on that top side. That's where the speed is, especially when you're racing somebody. We've seen these guys like to run the bottom when they're alone, but when you're racing somebody, you just get so much momentum on that top curve.
Keselowski took advantage of it. He moved to 4th. Robbie Gordon did hold on to the 5th position in the 31 car. As we continue to whittle away at this race length, and now, once again, it's the top 2 are the championship leaders. Kennington, the points leader, and Stewart in 2nd, trying to run that 81 car down for the race lead.
These two have just been inseparable this season. They run so close together, and they're so good everywhere that it's hard to build a gap, build a buffer. If there's anything that Stewart needs right now, is if he could get that lead from the 81, that would be an immense help with how close they've been all year.
Once again, you see Kennington starting to run away in the race lead. Starting to just kind of track out of the windshield of that 42, and Kane is starting to put pressure on Stewart again for the second position. Not a lot of movement in the rest of the field right now, as we've seen Scott Riggs, the early race leader, has gotten to about 16th. That is the highest pitter on the racetrack right now, and of course all those guys that came down pit road did not take tires. So it's a tall order for them to maybe get back up to the front of the field. You will see them stay out just a little bit longer on the pit cycle. Maybe get some clean air and try and get some help there, and potentially fuel mileage helping them out, but that's a long way off, and we're going to have to wait for that to take place before we have any concrete evidence over where the strategy of this race is going. But approaching halfway here tonight, DJ Kennington in the 81 leading this race, looking for another season-high win as Stewart and Kane sit out of his rearview mirror just prior to halfway in this race. With that halfway mark coming up, not a lot of action up front right now. Give you some engines and nothing else. It'll be NASCAR Crank It Up here on ESPN with Kennington, the 81, in the race lead just prior to the halfway mark. On board the McDonald's onboard camera, the visor cam on board Carl Edwards' number 19 car, running in the 8th position, having another great run in that Joe Gibbs Chevrolet, and finds himself in the top 10 once again. We talked a lot over this season over Edwards finding some strong runs in that 19 car, having a great turnaround amidst that Joe Gibbs camp, and once again finds himself in another strong top 10 run. Been a while since we've seen Edwards run strong, and good to see him up front as always. In the 8th position is the young kid out of that 19 team. Running in the lead right now is still DJ Kennington, holding off Tony Stewart's number 42, who is going to take a look to his bottom and see if he can maybe break the trend. But that is not going to be the case, and Kennington clears him around the outside once again. Kane now going to do the same move we've seen a lot of here tonight, try and go around the outside and take away this second position once again from Stewart. But it's just not quite going to be able to do so as Tony holds him off down the front stretch and retains that second position. But once again, Kennington able to pull off the defense. But here comes Kane trying to go back around the outside of Stewart, but could not make the move stick there in turn one.
And as they battle like this, that is exactly what Kennington wants to see, who has driven off into the distance I think for a lot of these drivers, it's a little disheartening when you close that gap all the way back up, you get down to the bottom, you try to make that pass, and then you just have nowhere to go, and you fall right back down to where you were. So I think if you're a driver, you want to try to get that pass done.
Number 57 here from Nashville as Kennington continues to lead over Stewart and Kane. Top 5 still mostly unchanged as Robbie Gordon runs in the 5th position. Got a little train behind this 2-car, 24, 17, 19 all in a line. Behind Robbie Gordon as well, trailing the 2 of Keselowski. We've seen that bottom work just a little bit better in turn 3, but it seemed like really just the biggest thing is these guys really haven't been able to build that run out of turn 2 like they have out of turn 4 to make the attempt at making a pass down on the bottom side. And that's been the biggest struggle spot for sure, is trying to make that pass in 1 and 2. It just does not work. And that was usually the spot on the racetrack in the past here that we've seen these guys really like to make that move on the bottom in 1 and 2, and it usually would work out, but now here tonight it's been a big struggle, and we've seen that top group, even just the entire field for the most part, not really been able to make passes here tonight, and it has definitely been a track position pit stop oriented race, which we should be seeing our first pit stops again in just a little bit here, you would have to imagine. Maybe see some shuffling up front if these guys can pull off the shortcuts. About 7/10 or so of tire fall off for the race leaders right now. And DJ Kennington, race leader, is going to be the first one to come down pit road, so he's going to try to cover the shortcut. As meanwhile, Stewart and Kane up front. Big 5 points there for Stewart to grab a lap lead. Him and Kane probably going to come down pit road right quick here. Kane looking to the bottom on Stewart. And both of them are going to head down pit road. And Stewart got the grass, managed to get it onto the access road. That was very nearly a disaster for the Bass Pro Shops Dodge. Newman in the 38 stays out another lap to take away the lead. I think Riggs actually was already on pit road in the 57 despite coming in under the yellow flag. He is. Biffle stayed out. So one of the drivers who came in with that 57 earlier on in the race. Newman's going to bring it down pit road from the lead. Vickers in with Biffle as well. Elliott Sadler in the 83 will stay out another lap here and should comfortably grab a lap lead, and he will. So Elliott Sadler now to the race lead, and Kurt Busch right behind him in the 2nd spot, at least for the moment, as everybody else getting back on onto the racetrack from pit road, as DJ Kennington's number 81 back onto the racing surface. Justin Allgaier, another car who stayed out long, he's going to come down pit road. So clean track out front for Kennington, and thanks to the undercut on his part, retains the race lead. The 40 laps to go here from Nashville next time by for Kennington, who is now comfortably out front. Gained even more time to 2nd place Tony Stewart, who holds off Kane. Jeff Gordon should be net P4 here, and P5 will belong to Brad Keselowski's number 2. And at the line this time, Kennington should now have the lead back. With all the rest of the cars on pit road, see Ambrose damaged race car rejoining the track up in front of DJ Kennington. Kennington did have a win here in the Busch Series last season. Knows his way around this facility, and he is now back in the race lead. Going to catch up to the lap car Ambrose here. And he will head to the bottom to get around this lapper and puts Ambrose with the damaged 13 car a lap down. Couple of other cars who have had rough pit stops. It is a rough day for the most part for this Gibbs garage at the moment, as Kevin Harvick and Bobby Labonte off on the wrong foot on the pit stops. I think there was a bit of damage on Labonte, so imagine the 18 got some damage on pit road and is now in the 41st position. Kevin Harvick in 39th, while the other two Gibbs cars, Kennington and Edwards, within a shouting chance of the top 10. Edwards did not end up leaving pit road in the top 10. He's in the 12th position right now. Bobby East in the 60, making a part-time start this week. He's in the 10th position for Haas CNC, having himself a great run right now. Seen a couple of strong runs in this race. Some feel-good runs going on for sure. And of course, David Rudiman, we mentioned this week Rudiman in the 06 for No Fear Racing, having himself a top 15 run with his new team. Rudiman was released from Aikens Motorsports going into this week, who made room for their top prospect, Todd Cleaver, who is the Busch Series points leader at the moment, racing on Saturdays. Making his Cup Series debut in the 98 this week, but David Rudiman, the driver full-time for Aikens, makes the move over to No Fear Racing's 06 team to run the remainder of the season with them. Has his 2 races he's going to have to find somewhere else to run, still scheduled for Boris Said to be in that car 2 more times over the course of this year. But Rudiman, new team in the 06 car, and already finds himself in the top 15, so a great run for Rudiman here tonight. Something he definitely needed some confidence this week after losing his scheduled full-time ride. And of course, as we mentioned, that 98 machine piloted this week by Todd Cleaver, making his Cup Series debut. A couple of Busch Series wins to his name this year and currently leading that championship. But at the moment, not having himself a fantastic start in the Aikens 98, runs in the 37th position, just in front of Justin Allgaier, who had himself a pretty rough pit stop there in 38th as well. DJ Kennington still in the race lead, as we mentioned. Points leader, absolutely running away with it right now. And despite the fact, if you want to argue if there's not been a lot of passes on this track or not, Kennington has absolutely checked out that margin to Tony Stewart, championship runner-up at the moment. 2 seconds now between the 81 and the 42. Up front, Casey Kane still in the 3rd position, Jeff Gordon 4th, and Brad Keselowski 5th. And another good run mentioning is Martin Truex Jr. in that 28 car. We've talked a lot about him in that 28 machine, having a rough transitional season with Yates in that Napa Ford, but having himself a couple good runs recently and finds himself in the top 10 for the 2nd time in a couple of weeks. And for Truex, this is another driver who really needed a confidence booster, and he's having himself a great run here tonight. Closing in on 30 to go here from Nashville, sitting in the 8th position just in front of his teammate Ryan Newman. And Clint Boyer in the 4 team. They've had a couple of DNFs and rough runs recently with this 4 camp, who had a very promising start to the season. But Boyer all smiles as always and finds himself right back up in the front of the field once again. He's in the 11th position, finds himself in the top 15 once again. Other Haas CNC car, Jason Leffler, just a couple positions behind his teammate Bobby East, running in the 13th spot in the 00, having himself a good night tonight as well. Sans the 18 and the 20. Leffler and the rest of the Gibbs camp included, having a good run here tonight in Nashville. DJ Kennington still out front, mentioned that just a moment ago, approaching 30 to go for the MBNA Chevrolet. Just over a 2-second lead for DJ Kennington over his championship rival Tony Stewart. Looking like tonight's going to be a wash between these two in the championship fight, which, in a race that has been a bit of a struggle for a lot of these drivers up to this point, you gotta imagine that's the silver lining here tonight, as Kennington out of turn 4 this time. 30 laps to go for the MBNA Joe Gibbs Racing number 81 car. And the question now becomes for these guys exactly how this final pit stop is going to work out. That's going to be the entertaining thing to pay attention to towards the end of this race. Of course, we had a group of drivers who pit under that first yellow flag that took place only a couple laps after that pit cycle started, so they've only got a couple of extra laps on fuel on the rest of the field. But the question becomes, you're going to be close to the end of this race when you come in. It should be 20, 15, maybe even 10 to go when that final pit cycle starts. So the question is going to be for the guys who make it the longest, do you maybe not take 4 tires? Do you take 2? Maybe even none? That's going to be the important thing worth mentioning. And of course, it's been so hard to pass here tonight that taking no tires might be the correct gamble. It's going to be remains to be seen what the right answer ends up being. Still got just over 25 to go in this race. And still one more pit stop remaining, probably scheduled to be around 15 to go or so, you would have to imagine. The race leader, Kennington, his last time on pit road was just past that lap, or just around that lap 60 mark, with just over 40 to go. The run has been about 28 to 32 laps. So it's probably going to be 20 to 15 to go is going to be your scheduled pit window for the final time for these guys. Maybe even closer to 10, we will see. Of course, Kennington came in around 58. 59 was the lap that he entered pit road on. And it is about a 28 to 30 lap run. So you would have to imagine it would probably be closer to 15 for Kennington, closer to 10 for the drivers who stayed out just a little bit longer. And once again, going to be interesting to see if anybody makes that long gambit on the pit call. Of course, the first driver who was on that opposite strategy that pit late was the 16 of Greg Biffle, but even he came in pit road pretty early. And Riggs, who was the leader of the drivers who came in under that first cycle, in the 23rd position right now, came in amongst the rest of the field, was a pretty early pitter by contrast compared to the fact that he came down pit road for extra fuel under that last yellow, although his pit stop was noticeably shorter than Biffle, worth mentioning that, so I would imagine they got less fuel in it on pit road under that yellow flag stop, so that strategy is going to be the most important aspect. Closing in on 20 to go now as DJ Kennington got some lap traffic up the way. And with how difficult passing has been here tonight, going to be interesting to see if he can navigate them cleanly and keep Stewart and Kane behind in the closing laps of this race. And issues for Ricky Hendrick's number 5. Tire down for Hendrick. Think he got to pit road safe here. Yeah, a lot of open racetrack and nobody out behind him. So Ricky Hendrick has been woes at this racetrack for this 5 team over the last couple years. And once again, a mechanical issue for Hendrick here at Nashville. And he brings it down pit road. Might be beneficial for this 5 car, you'd have to imagine. Going to take just 2 tires here. Early pit stop for him, and he can make it on fuel from here. So Ricky Hendrick going to get back on this racetrack here. But a tire goes down for him, and he was already well out of it, so a rough break for that 5 car as he comes down pit road unscheduled. DJ Kennington leading this race by about 1.5 seconds right now, a little less than that, as Stewart has started to pick up just a little bit of time. 20 to go here from Nashville as crunch time appears. Question now becomes how this strategy is going to work out late. Kennington up to the back bumper of Bobby Labonte, the first lap car in his way here. So this is going to start to get interesting. We've seen the struggles to pass all night long here. And the question is going to be if Kennington can weave through lap traffic or if this is going to start to back him up and bring Stewart back into this thing. Most of the passes in this race have kind of been assisted. We've mentioned that a couple times where it's just been off of mistakes. So if Stewart can get up to Kennington when he's trying to navigate lap traffic here, this could get interesting. But starting to run out of time in this race, and once again, you have to imagine the pit stops are coming up for this 81 car, who is getting close to about 30 laps since his last pit stop. So this final cycle coming up quick. Kennington is going to get underneath this 18 here on the backstretch. Try and work around his teammate Labonte. But quickly to no avail as Labonte clears him around the outside going into turn 3. And now you see Stewart begin to loom in the background. And the question becomes, if you're Kennington, do you want to shortcut this pit stop as well to try and just get some clean air and make some extra time? I would think so. We'll see what the move is for Kennington here. And he stays on the racetrack at least this time. Haven't seen anybody on pit road just yet. Stewart closing in. Right on the back bumper of this 81 car. Kennington got pretty checked up there. Stewart starting to close. Kennington down on the bottom. Once again, trying to go for turn 3. This is the spot that would be better. And never mind, Kennington's going to bring it to pit road. So the shortcut is going to be the answer for Kennington. Just inside 15 laps to go. He brings it to pit road, and the final pit cycle begins. So the question becomes, how many tires do you take? Kennington looking like the only taker on pit road that time. And a couple other follow now, well behind in the back end of the field. McMurray's number 40. So Kennington in. Should be 2 tires at least. I would imagine that would be all. And that is correct. So 2 tires only for DJ Kennington as he leaves pit road. And Tony Stewart, runner-up, on pit road as well. Two tires going on for pretty much everybody here. It'll be no different for Tony Stewart and his Ganassi Dodge team as he leaves pit road with 2 tires and nothing else. Gordon and the 17 of Kenseth on pit road. Staying out to take away the lead is Greg Biffle's 16. We mentioned that he went long. Elliott Sadler went an extra lap than him on the last cycle. And that is no different this time. So Biffle dives down pit road. Sadler stays out to retain the lead. Still no takers of fuel only. And the caution flag is out! Wreck in turn 3, it's David Rudiman. Bobby Labonte and David Rudiman involved, and the caution comes out of nowhere. Another botched pit cycle, and Sadler stays out, and he has the lead at the yellow flag. Ten to go, and we're under caution for the second time here tonight. Sadler will come in for his service, and we get a look at what just took place. It was Rudiman leaving pit road. It was him and Bobby Labonte, I believe. Oh, Labonte tried to go down to pit road with Rudiman on his inside. That's a rough break for that 06 team. Another good run for a surprising team, and Rudiman goes into the outside wall, and Labonte, bit of a rookie mistake from the veteran there, and that brings out another caution. And Elliott Sadler, I believe, was one of maybe 2 drivers to stay out there, and he will be the leader, if I am not mistaken. No, there are a couple other cars that were on the lead lap, and he does leave the pit road behind these cars. And it does look like Kennington is going to retain the lead here, as Elliott Sadler didn't quite lap everybody. And Kennington is going to hold the lead. So we'll take an intermission here from Nashville as DJ Kennington is going to hold the lead. Going to be a very late restart. It's NASCAR on ESPN here from Nashville Superspeedway. Back from intermission here at Nashville as we get set to go green. It'll be 5 laps to go on the restart. The question is now, if anybody can get around this 81 car. Elliott Sadler didn't take 4 tires there. It was just 2 for the 83, hoping he could maybe beat those guys out of pit road and hold on to the lead, but did not quite manage it. But he is going to have slightly fresher tires. We'll see if he can pull anything off, if anybody can pull anything off. But it's 81, 42, 12, 24, and 31 on the restart with 5 laps to go.
And this is Tony Stewart's chance. If he wants to gain some points on Kennington, he needs to make this move on the restart, and he has to make it as soon as humanly possible. It's been very hard to pass all day. If you can get that track position that Kennington currently has, you're in good shape. But you have to at least try it down here in a turn 1.
Stewart and Kennington, 2 championship leaders. I know we jaw on about that, but they are up front, first and second, 81-42. Pace car in, headed towards the restart box. We'll see if anything happens here. Green flag flies as DJ Kennington leads the field off towards turn 1, and Stewart is going to jump to the outside. Kennington throws a block, but Kane is going to get underneath. Which lane do you block if you're the 81? He's going to clear. Stewart moves back into the second position out of turn 2 as we race down the backstretch.
And a valiant effort for Stewart to try to get up to the high side. Just didn't quite have the run on Kennington that he needed to make that pass. But we ran a little bit higher there than Kennington in 3 and 4. Was able to carry some momentum. If that trend continues, maybe he can try to get to the right side quarter panel. But it'll be hard to do now with coming to just 3 laps to go in this race.
Up to the back bumper is Stewart. Kennington trying to hold him off. Stewart looking to the outside, trying to make something happen. Hasn't been able to all night, but this is the best chance he's got. 3 laps to go. Kennington still in the lead.
If I'm 81, I try to mirror drive, stay in that outside groove. Just go wherever the 42 is, feed him some dirty air, make him have to get out of the gas, because once you build a little bit of a gap, you're in good shape here. Kennington just trying to drive wherever he thinks the 42 will be.
55 of Mears just ran out of fuel. Was one of the only 2 cars that stayed out long enough to make it to the end there. Really rough break for that 55. 2 laps to go for the race leaders. Kennington trying to hold off Stewart.
Yeah, and he threw a good block on the 42 there, who had to move up the racetrack without entering up there. Lost some speed. Trying just to inch closer to that 81 to try and get a prayer of getting alongside him. But nothing doing right now. White flag for Kennington.
Last lap here from Nashville. Kennington, who has dominated this race since taking away the lead on pit cycles, trying to bring it home for his Joe Gibbs team. Stewart doing everything he can, but he's starting to drop to the wayside as Kennington leads the field into 3 and 4 for the final time. It is not going to be enough from Tony Stewart on this late race restart. DJ Kennington add another win to the books here tonight. He takes the checkered flag in Nashville. Second place belongs to the 42. Kane will finish in 3rd. Jeff Gordon 4th. Brad Keselowski in the 5th position. Robbie Gordon 6th. Sadler 7th. Allgaier with a nice recovery in 8th. Kenseth in 9th. And Clint Boyer with a good run in that 4-car rounds out the top 10.
Been hard to pass today or not. Kennington has been so good everywhere we go. Not a surprise that he was able to control this race once he got the lead, and just another poised race for that 81, and one that will, even if just a little bit, extend his points lead over Tony Stewart.
Absolutely, and just held off that valiant effort. Stewart tried to get to that outside. He knew it was working better all night, but Kennington with the better corner, able to hold him off. And the 2 championship contenders finish 1st and 2nd. It's a wash here tonight, but regardless of that fact, Kennington with another win. That'll do it for coverage here from Nashville. DJ Kennington, your race winner here tonight. Next week, race number 25 as we start the final third of the season. We head to Richmond. It'll be the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. But on behalf of Nate joining me in the booth here tonight, I've been your host, Caden Reif. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, and we'll see you next time, and have yourself a good one.